The sound of water dripping through the ceiling woke me at 2:13 in the morning. At first, I thought it was rain, but when I stepped into the hallway, I saw water running beneath my neighbor's front door. I rushed outside and knocked hard. No one answered. Then I heard a woman crying from inside, followed by two small voices whispering in fear. I forced the swollen door open, expecting the worst. Instead, I found my neighbor, Hannah Miller, kneeling beside a broken sink with tears running down her face while her 8-year-old twins, Noah and Caleb, stood barefoot behind her. None of us knew that fixing that little sink would eventually change all 4 of our lives. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness can arrive at the exact moment someone needs it most, please take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to Love and Destiny. Sometimes a small act of kindness becomes the beginning of a second chance we never expected. My name is Daniel Carter, and at that time, I had been living alone in the small apartment next to Hannah's for almost 6 months. I knew very little about her. I knew she worked long hours at a local bakery, that she always seemed exhausted when she came home, and that she had twin boys who were unusually quiet for their age. I had seen them carrying school bags up the stairs, always staying close to their mother. We exchanged polite greetings, but neither of us ever crossed the invisible line people sometimes build between neighbors. That night, however, there was no room for distance. The sink pipe had burst underneath the cabinet, flooding their tiny kitchen. Hannah had already turned off the main water valve, but the floor was soaked, the cabinet was ruined, and she was trying desperately to keep the water from reaching the electrical outlet. I grabbed my toolbox from my apartment and crouched beneath the sink. I was no professional plumber, but my father had taught me enough about fixing ordinary things around a house. After nearly 40 minutes of tightening, replacing, and sealing, the dripping finally stopped. Hannah stood behind me, holding a towel against her shoulder. She kept apologizing for waking me, but I told her she had nothing to apologize for. When I finally stood up, Noah and Caleb were watching me from the doorway. Their hair was messy, their pajamas were too big, and both of them looked like they had been trying very hard not to cry. I smiled and told them the sink had lost its battle with me. For the first time, one of them smiled back. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The next morning, as I was leaving for work, I found Noah and Caleb standing outside my door. They looked at each other nervously before Noah stepped forward. In the smallest voice, he told me, "Our bed is broken too." I almost laughed because I thought they were joking. But then Caleb quietly added that their bed had collapsed in the middle during the night, and their mother had been sleeping on the floor because there was only one mattress left. Something inside me changed. I followed them into their apartment. Their bedroom was small, with peeling paint near the window and 2 thin blankets folded neatly in the corner. The wooden frame underneath their mattress had snapped in several places. One side had completely collapsed. Hannah appeared in the doorway and immediately looked embarrassed. She explained that she had planned to buy a new frame after her next paycheck, but the sink repair, groceries, school supplies, and electricity bill had already consumed what little money she had. I told her I could repair it temporarily. She shook her head and said she couldn't ask me for another favor. I told her she wasn't asking. The boys were. For the next few hours, I measured the broken pieces, drove to a hardware store, and bought inexpensive wooden supports. When I returned, Noah and Caleb sat on the floor watching me work. They kept handing me screws and pretending to be my assistants. Their laughter slowly filled the room, and I realized how long it had probably been since they had laughed without worrying about their mother. While I worked, I noticed something strange. There were no photographs of the boy's father anywhere. When I asked nothing, Hannah eventually explained on her own. Her husband, Michael, had died 2 years earlier after a sudden illness. Since then, she had been raising the twins alone. She had taken extra shifts, skipped meals, and learned to repair things herself whenever she could. But lately, everything had started breaking at once. The sentence stayed with me. Everything had started breaking at once. I understood that feeling more than she knew. A year earlier, I had lost my own father. After his death, I had quit the job I loved, moved to a cheaper apartment, and stopped talking to most people. I had convinced myself that being alone was easier than being disappointed again. Helping Hannah that morning felt strangely familiar, like fixing something outside myself while secretly trying to repair something inside me. By evening, the bed was stronger than it had ever been. Hannah stood at the bedroom door with her arms folded, staring at it as though she couldn't believe something so simple had brought so much relief. The twins climbed onto it carefully, then bounced once. Hannah immediately told them to stop, and all three of us laughed. That was the first time I heard her laugh. Over the next few weeks, small things began to change. Sometimes Hannah left an extra piece of bread from the bakery outside my door. Sometimes I carried her groceries upstairs. Noah started showing me his school drawings, while Caleb became fascinated with my toolbox. We didn't become a family overnight. It happened through ordinary moments, the kind people usually overlook. One Saturday afternoon, I noticed Hannah sitting alone on the apartment stairs with an unopened envelope in her hands. She looked terrified. She finally admitted that the landlord had given her a notice because she was behind on rent. She had been trying to hide it from the boys. She had already taken every extra shift the bakery could give her, but she still couldn't catch up. I wanted to give her money, but I knew that wasn't the answer. Instead, I helped her organize everything. We contacted local assistance programs, negotiated a payment plan with the landlord, and created a simple budget. Hannah didn't need someone to rescue her. She needed someone to remind her that she wasn't carrying everything alone. Then came the night that nearly destroyed everything. A violent storm swept through the neighborhood. The power went out, the streets flooded, and part of the old apartment building's ceiling began leaking. I heard Hannah screaming from next door and ran outside. Noah and Caleb were trapped in their bedroom because a fallen shelf had blocked the door. I forced it open. The boys were crying, holding each other in the darkness. I carried Caleb while Noah held onto my jacket. Hannah followed behind us, shaking. We made it downstairs just as part of the damaged ceiling collapsed. That night, we sat together in the building's laundry room until the storm passed. Hannah looked at me and whispered that she didn't know what she would have done if I hadn't been there. I told her the truth. I said that months earlier, I thought I was fixing a sink. Then I realized I had been given something much more important to fix, my belief that life was only about surviving alone. Weeks later, Hannah found a better paying position at a larger bakery. She could finally breathe. The boys started smiling more. Noah stopped hiding his drawings, and Caleb proudly told everyone that I was the best handyman in the world, even though I knew very well that I wasn't. One evening, Hannah knocked on my door. She held a small wooden picture frame. Inside was a photograph of the four of us standing beside the repaired bed. On the back, she had written a simple sentence: "Sometimes home is the person who shows up when everything falls apart." I stared at those words for a long time. Because I finally understood something. I hadn't rescued Hannah. She hadn't rescued me. We had simply reminded each other that broken things don't always need to be thrown away. Sometimes they need patience. Sometimes they need support. And sometimes they need someone willing to kneel down beside them and say, without judgment, "Let me help." If this story touched your heart, please support the video with a like, share it with someone who believes that kindness still matters, and subscribe to Love and Destiny. Your simple engagement may help this story reach someone who desperately needs the reminder that they are not alone. And before the story ends, I have one special request. Comment, "Broken things can be rebuilt," if you believe that one small act of kindness can change someone's entire life. Years later, Noah and Caleb would still joke about the night they asked me to fix their broken bed. But I remembered something they never knew. That night, while I was repairing those wooden boards, I wasn't only fixing their bed. I was rebuilding my own heart. And sometimes, the greatest love stories don't begin with romance. Sometimes they begin with a broken sink, two frightened children, and a neighbor who simply decided to knock on the door.